And good morning and welcome to the WSJM video live stream for, what is it today? Thursday, right? Thursday, July 7th?
I think so. No, July 10th.
Oh, that's right. See, today I'm just so off today. I don't know what it is. It's been a week. Okay, so my friends today are from Flowers Early Learning. Chanda Hillman, CEO and Executive Director for Flowers Early Learning, and Gloria Walter, Family Services Director of Flowers Early Learning. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. Somebody was really early out there. Who was real? Was that you, Gloria?
Yes.
Thank you for being prompt and punctual.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Do you teach the kids that? If you have the opportunity?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about. We're gonna get into a whole bunch of it. And I only have a couple of minutes here while we're waiting for ABC News to wrap up. But just give us an overview. What is Flowers Early Learning? Who wants to take that?
Gotcha. So Flowers Early Learning, we are the Head Start grantee in the area. We serve Berrien, Cass, and Van Buren counties.
Okay.
Been around since 1972. So early childhood school readiness, helping children and families with school and life success.
What age kids are we talking about?
We serve families prenatally and then children from birth to age 5.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people.
So that's really early learning.
It is.
You said a lot of people don't what?
A lot of people don't know that we serve infants and toddlers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. And Gloria, I'm going to ask you to pull your microphone forward.
Okay.
And right here is the optimum. So yeah, it doesn't go up so much, but just bring it forward. Then there you go. And then project. You're both in good shape. Okay. So infants. So how long does an infant go to school for?
Forever.
True. Very good answer. I love that. No, I mean, because I think about, when I was a kid, and I skipped kindergarten. I just went into first grade because of whatever I was in a rural area. But the day seemed like it took forever. So infants probably not going for the full school day.
They do.
They do, really?
Yep. So when you think about our program, it's a combination of both childcare and school readiness.
Okay.
But even with infants and toddlers, we are preparing them to be in, first the Head Start classroom and then into kindergarten.
Okay.
So 7.5 hours is how long our early Head Start is open. And I think the youngest child that we've had recently is maybe 2 weeks old.
Okay.
Because sometimes families have to go back to work.
Yeah.
Either they don't have a parental program with their work, or they just need the money to go back to work. So infants, little ones.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then in those classrooms, they can go all the way up to age 3. And then once they turn 3, we transition them into the Head Start classroom.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. What is there a specific curriculum that you have for the infants? Where do they start?
We do. And it's actually the same curriculum that we use in our Head Start program. It's called High Scope, which has been around since the early 60s. It came out of the Perry Preschool Project in Ypsilanti.
Okay.
So it's cool to have local ties to the highly researched curriculum that we have. But it's fantastic. We love it.
Okay. All right. We're going to dive into all of that. And clearly I have a lot of learning to do about Flowers Early Learning and everything that they do here in Southwest Michigan. So we'll be talking with Chanda Hillman and Gloria Walter in just a moment. They're from Flowers Early Learning. That's coming up right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Thanks for joining us. Our local news is coming up next.
The credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show for your Thursday, July 10th. I'm Ken Lundberg, 7:05 a.m. Temperature Outside in Benton Harbor, it's a beautiful southwest Michigan morning. 65 degrees and sunny skies in Benton Harbor. 68 and sunny in St. Joseph. A little warmer by the lake this morning. 65 degrees in South Haven. Heading toward a high probably in the, looks like 80 degrees for a high in Benton Harbor. 78 degrees is the projected high in St. Joseph. And let's see, out in Dowagiac right now, the temperature is 61, but the high today they're heading toward is 83 degrees. We've got Tigers baseball coming up. Not tonight, though, unfortunately. They lost to the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday, 7-3. They do have the day off today, and then Detroit will host the Seattle Mariners tomorrow night. The first pitch is at 7:10, and where can you hear it? Right here on WSJM. Cubs lost one to the Minnesota Twins. White Sox beat the Toronto Blue Jays 2-1. We'll have more sports coming up in a few minutes after news. Some of the news from the WSJM newsrooms. Authorities have released the identity of the swimmer who drowned in Lake Michigan on Tuesday. The Allegan County Sheriff's Department says it was 18-year-old Xavier Randolph from Ann Arbor, who went underwater while swimming near a boat north of Saugatuck Tuesday afternoon. He was not wearing a life preserver. Divers searched for several hours before recovering Randolph's body. The Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project says there have been 18 people who have drowned in Lake Michigan so far this year. City leaders in Benton Harbor will be joined by State Representative Joey Andrews, the director of Eagle and the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission next week for an event to highlight work to promote clean energy and environmental protection. The Planning Commission's Marcy Hamilton tells us after Benton Harbor lost a $20 million EPA grant earlier this year, the city met with a national group called Elected Officials to Protect America, who encouraged them to draw attention to what the money loss will mean.
Obviously, we'll be talking about the EPA grant that was terminated to help the city with some alternative energy projects and workforce development and those types of things. We'll definitely be talking about that opportunity and what it's meant to the Benton Harbor community of not getting those funds.
Hamilton says the EPA grant awarded to the Planning Commission on behalf of the city would have been used to fix up the Bobo Brazil Community Center and turn it into a pilot microgrid alternative energy project. But with that grant now canceled, most of that will not be done. However, she says action is being taken.
We have signed on to a class action lawsuit that's been filed against the EPA through a group called Earth Justice and Lawyers for Good Government.
On Wednesday, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel announced she's joined with 19 other attorneys general in filing an amicus brief supporting a lawsuit against the EPA for terminating the grant program. Next Tuesday's gathering starts at 11 a.m. at the Bobo Brazil Center. Lake Michigan College is developing a new program to help students who are facing financial emergencies so that they don't have to drop out of school due to money problems. LMC Director of Student Wellbeing Leslie Navarro tells us they're using a nearly $100,000 grant from the MyLeap Breaking Barriers Direct to Students program to help students struggling with car repairs, medical bills, housing, childcare, or academic supplies. This new grant will be used to create one system for emergency aid so that there's no longer a patchwork of programs.
We found that was inconsistent for students trying to navigate that system. They would think they kind of knew the process and then realize, oh, this process is actually for Student Success Fund, not for Veterans Fund, or this process is for Student Success Fund and not Perkins. So we wanted to create something that was streamlined, that was effective, and that was equitable for our students.
An online portal for students to apply for aid is being created. The college hopes to launch that portal in September. She notes this entire initiative came about as a result of student input. She says although other institutions offer emergency aid, LMC's model is now one of the most comprehensive in the state of Michigan. And 172 artists from all over the country are coming to St. Joseph this weekend for the Krazel Art Fair on the Bluff. And that includes artists from right here in Southwest Michigan. Tom Fryer is based in Benton Harbor and has taken part in the show about 5 times now. He tells us it's an exciting time and a great chance to showcase the sculptures that he makes out of vintage and antique items. His favorite thing about the fair, he says, is getting to meet some of the thousands of people who walk by.
Seeing people that come into my booths and they look at my sculptures, and everybody smiles. If you're somebody in your 70s and 80s, they recognize the pieces. But the little kids that come in, they look at it and go, oh, that's a dog, that's a robot. they like looking at my stuff as well.
Fryer's work includes robots made out of old machine parts and toy race cars made out of roller skates, for example. He knows other artists from all over look forward to the Krasl Art Fair.
It's one of the best in the country. I get a lot of very positive feedback from the other artists that come to the show. They do quite well, especially for the Midwest.
Fryer says living in the area, one of the perks is he gets to socialize with the artists he knows and then go home and sleep in his own bed at the end of the day. The 63rd annual Krasl Art Fair on the Bluff will be at Lake Bluff Park this Saturday and Sunday. Everything kicks off Friday night with the block party featuring music, food, and drinks. I'll be down there as well. And that's a look at news. So we'll enjoy the art fair this weekend. What do they expect? Like tens of thousands of people.
That's fantastic.
Have you plan? You plan to go there?
I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay. That's a firm maybe.
Yeah, that's a firm maybe.
Okay. Well, we'll all be down there. It'll all be down there, and there'll be a ton of stuff to see. Good morning, and welcome again to the WSJM Morning Show. That's a look at news. We've got sports coming up in just a moment. My guests in the studio this hour, which we'll do a brief introduction now, is Flowers Early Learning. And CEO and Executive Director Chanda Hillman is here. Also, Gloria Walter, who is the Family Services Director. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Frequent visitors to the WSJM studios?
I've been here twice.
Okay.
This is your first
Yes,
time.
this is my first.
Okay, so Gloria's first time. Chanda, you've been here a couple of times before. Give people, if you wouldn't mind, just a brief overview. We've already talked about this a little bit on the video live stream, but give people just a brief overview. What is Flowers Early Learning? And I'm going to interject with questions if I can.
Okay, so Flowers Early Learning, we were formerly Tri-County Head Start. We are the Head Start grantee in Berry and Cass and Van Buren counties.
Okay.
We have been around since 1972, served more than 40,000 children in that time. Our main focus is life and school readiness for both children and families.
Wow. 40,000 kids.
40,000.
That's nearly a third of the population of the county.
know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to learning more about you, learning more about Flowers Early Learning, and talking about what's on your mind. That's coming up in just a moment. We'll start the conversation on our video live stream while others are listening to sports. We'll be back here on the radio in just a couple of minutes.
The Tigers fall.
Okay, we're on the video live stream now. Head Start. For those who don't know, give us a quick primer on what is Head Start.
All right. Head Start came out of Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty.
Okay.
1965.
LBJ.
Yep. There are 1,600 Head Start grantees across the country and in every U.S. territory. We go from Puerto Rico to Guam. Maybe American Samoa. I'm not sure which one's farther.
Yeah. Same neighborhood.
Yeah. There's even a Head Start program at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, which now we have a connection to that one.
How so?
So one of our staff members who's worked with us for a while is now the executive director of that program. So
wow.
She gets
That's
to
really
live
great.
down there, and when she needs groceries, she has to helicopter out.
Can you imagine?
I know.
Wait, I forgot the butter.
I know. You can't just like run down to the
Oh
store.
man, that's great.
But yeah, so Head Start's really considered kind of the gold standard in early education because so much research has come out of the last 60 years of Head Start.
Yeah.
Serving young children from birth to age 5 and families prenatally, and
I mean, I feel like the name says it all, right? It gives kids a head
it
start
does.
in education, right?
It does.
Okay.
And there are so many aspects. You're going to learn so much.
Okay. I look forward to this. This will be good. We'll also ask you to introduce yourselves briefly. Gloria, you've been pretty quiet over there.
Yes.
How are things going?
Going good. Going good.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am Gloria Walter. I am the Family Services Director at Flowers Early Learning. So what Family Services does, we have the enrollment, eligibility, recruitment, selection, and attendance.
Okay.
I also support the language service department, and I have the honor of working with our family advocates, which are kind of the liaisons between the families and the communities.
Wow.
And different resources that are out in the community.
That keeps you busy, I bet.
It does, yes.
How long have you been doing this kind of work?
I've been in this role for almost 7 years now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Why did you decide to get into it?
So just
my husband recruited her.
True story.
Smart.
It was during grad school. So I've always worked in different jobs and respects that just support families and children.
Yeah.
And so it just seemed like a very natural fit when I had met Shanda's husband in grad school that, it made sense to start as early as birth in supporting families and communities. So
you love it?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll come back and we'll ask you similar questions as well in just a moment. It's the WSJM Morning Show. If you have questions or comments, feel free to put them into the live chat, and we'll take a look at them on our YouTube and Facebook stream as well. All right. It's Thursday, July 10th. Back on the radio here in just a moment.
Block party July 11th on the Krasel grounds, starting at 5 for just $10. Then come back Saturday, July 12th from 10 to 6 and Sunday, July 13th from 10 to 5 to explore the Bluff, featuring over 170 artists from across the nation. It's easy to attend with free shuttles available at St. Joseph High School all day long. The Krasel Art Fair on the Bluff, presented by First Source Bank Wealth Advisory Services, with support from the City of St. Joseph, Midwest Family Marketing and Media, LKF Marketing, Mailmex, Pepsi, Signature Dealer Group, and Visit Southwest Michigan. We'll see you July 12th and 13th in downtown St. Joe. For more details, visit krasel.org, KRASL.org.
Mostly sunny skies today. We're looking at still warm temperatures inland around 85 degrees. At the beaches, we're going to stay right around 80 degrees with the north wind. Wind will stay light. Partly to mostly cloudy overnight tonight. A slight chance of a shower. We drop down to 64. And then for tomorrow, partly sunny. A few showers and thunderstorms. High temperatures up in the mid-80s. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show. I was just commenting to the folks on the video live stream. It's a chamber day. It's a beautiful day in Southwest Michigan. We've got 66 degrees and clear skies in Benton Harbor right now, 69 degrees already in St. Joseph, and 66 in South Haven. In Niles, it's 62 degrees, and at the South Bend International Airport, sunny and 64. Beautiful day. Great day to be on the WSJM Morning Show. So we had Flowers Early Learning come in today, and we're talking with Chanda Hillman, who's the CEO and Executive Director of Flowers Early Learning, and Gloria Walter, Family Services Director. And we were talking just a moment ago, before we got back on the radio, about water bottles. You probably how many water bottles do you think are at Flowers Early Learning right now?
Oh, well, we
because
have
everyone
200
brings
staff members. And then, I think we have water bottles that are like giveways. We have
all the children have water bottles as well. Okay, so you have 200 staff, you've got all the children.
583.
Holy
Although
mackerel.
part of them are off for the summer.
Okay.
The early Head Start.
But they have
this all
water
year.
bottles wherever they are.
Yeah, they do have
I
water
was in a
bottles.
sporting goods store a couple of weekends ago. I already talked about this once before on the morning show. And I saw a water bottle. I want to increase my water intake because I know I don't drink enough water. And I saw one there that was a gallon, a water bottle that was a gallon, which is ridiculous on its own.
Yeah.
The price for it, $130
my goodness.
for a water bottle.
No. And it's probably not even dishwasher safe.
Well, exactly. It's not dishwasher. That's a very good point. It's not dishwasher safe. But, I'm one of those people, I like to rationalize. If I'm going to buy something and it's going to be a high price tag on it, I have to rationalize, okay, if I buy this expensive coffee machine, it'll take me this many coffees before it starts paying for itself.
Right.
And I usually forget about it after a week. Anyway, water bottle, how is that ever going to work?
Yeah. Nope.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, and by the time you get to the bottom, the water probably tastes pretty icky.
Oh yeah,
Stale water.
It's got all my mustache hairs in it and stuff like that. Anyway, all right, enough of that. We're talking about Flowers Early Learning, clearly, which I need some more of. Chanda Hillman is the CEO and Executive Director there. Thank you for introducing the topic to us. Again, what do you want people to know about Flowers Early Learning? Gloria can take this one. Gloria Walter, who's the Family
Sure.
Services Director.
So I think one of the things that makes Flowers Early Learning and Head Starts in general just very unique from other preschool options out in the community is that we have a lot of wraparound services. So it's not only educating the child, but also educating, supporting the family in any capacity that we can. So that includes nutritionists that we have on staff.
Oh.
We have mental health consultants that are there for the children, staff, and families. We have My Family advocates that are there that support the families by connecting them to community resources, help them with goal setting and achievement. They can take them to medical appointments. They can, if a family's experienced a fire recently, they can go in and get them housing resources or different household items, whatever it may need or whatever the families may need. And so I just think that wraparound service aspect is
Yeah.
what really makes us stand apart from other options.
How long has that wraparound presence been there?
Forever, since
Yeah.
the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's important, and why?
It is. When you think about families, and especially the ones that currently qualify for Head Start programming, they're at or below 100% of poverty, maybe experiencing homelessness, a child in foster care, having those extra supports are critical. My story starts there with the extra supports from Head Start. My husband's story starts with the extra supports from Head Start. And it's, what happens in the classroom is magical. But I think, really what happens outside and around to help support the families and the children are really what makes this program life changing.
Yeah. Talk about the mission, if you would, of Flowers Early Learning. What is it? What outcomes are you pursuing?
Yeah. So school readiness is always the first. But beyond that, it is really helping families with those skills and connections that they need for that lifelong success. So when you have a child that goes to Head Start, parents are more likely to continue their own education. Children are more likely to go on to college. Families are more likely to become stable, step out of poverty, be able to, self-sustain. Those pieces are just really what makes us different.
Yeah. How do you measure success? Because you're talking about a long-term goal here.
Yeah.
How do you measure success?
So when the children are in the classrooms, we do actually create school readiness goals with families. That could be anything from potty training to not biting your friends to writing your name to reading.
Yeah.
But each of those goals are set with the family and the staff to really set that child up and get them ready for school. So that's kind of within the classroom. And then outside of the classroom, all families, they set a goal with their family advocate. They do
Yeah.
a strengths assessment first to kind of just see where the family is and where they want to go. Achieving those goals, and it can be anything from, we have a great story of a family advocate that worked with a family, and the mom had a degree and he couldn't figure out why the mom, I don't know if she's working at McDonald's or
Right.
something like that, but she had a degree and he couldn't figure out like why she had her degree but was working there.
Yeah.
And through getting to know her and talking to her, he realized that she had never learned how to fill out a resume
Hmm.
or go through an interview process. And so he helped her with that and helped her figure out how to adapt her resume and cover letter based on the job that she was applying for. She ended up getting a job as a teller at a local credit union.
That's great.
And then he ran into her a couple years later, and now she is managing the mortgages for that
That's
credit
life.
union.
Yeah.
And she was able to get her own a home. So now she's a homeowner. And it
Wow.
was all through that connection and support through the program.
That's life-changing.
It is.
That's really
It
good.
is.
Flowers Early Learning. There's probably a little bit of history to unpack. So it's been here since the 60s,
19, well, our program is 1972. Head
1972.
Start since 1965.
Okay, Head Start since 65, 72 is when Flowers Early Learning, but it wasn't always Flowers Early Learning. What was it
No.
before that? Walk us through that.
It was Tri-County Head Start up until about a year ago.
Yeah, August
Yeah.
of last year.
Tell us about what was the shift there? What happened?
So, Tri-County Head Start, with being 1,600 Head Start grantees across the country, there are several Tri-County Head Starts. That was one aspect of
Okay.
the name change. So there'd be times when we'd have families from Florida or Iowa apply for our program, and we were like, no, it's the wrong one.
Oh, no.
Or some program would have an event, and all of a sudden we'd start to get all kinds of likes from Florida, and we're like, you're liking the wrong page, but cool. But also,
Do you ever get their grants? That'd be kind of cool, right?
no, but
Okay.
one time, another grantee in Colorado got one of our bills for furniture. So
Even better.
yeah.
No, that's horrible. Wow. Okay, so
knowing
problem
that,
there.
I think there were a total of, I think we counted like 19 Tri-County Head Starts
Okay.
across the country.
Wow.
So there was that aspect.
Identity.
Yep. But also we knew, we did a study a few years ago, and while our Head Start grant is amazing, when more families need our services, we can't just expand that. It's not how the Head Start grants work. So we knew that in our area, we're short about 3,200 childcare seats. And families sometimes have to do desperate things in order to be able to go back to work.
Wow.
And so we knew that we wanted to expand beyond just our Head Start funding, our Head Start grant, to be able to serve more families. And in order to do that, it didn't make sense for us to call ourselves Tri-County Head Start if we were also going to offer these additional services to families. And then it took us probably a little over a year
Okay.
to finally figure out what our name was going to be. And we landed on Flowers Early Learning because, one, it describes what we do, but Flowers is based on our founder, who was Orion Flowers, came out of the Dowagiac area.
Okay.
He served as the executive director for more than 30 years, and we thought that it was just a fantastic way to honor him.
Yeah.
And lead us into the next 50 whatever years or
Yeah.
longer.
That's it's a great name because I mean it's a very positive, uplifting. I feel
Mhm.
Flowers, right?
Right.
And that it has with Orion the heritage there.
Mhm.
That's double good. Okay, we're talking with Chanda Hillman, CEO and Executive Director of Flowers Early Learning, and Gloria Walter, who's the Family Services Director there. Maybe talk a little bit about you mentioned grants a lot, and we've talked about some financial challenges. What are the financial challenges that your group has faced this year?
Where do I start?
Where do because I mean, and the way I set that up is, if you think about anything that's tied to a federal fund these days, federal grants especially, there is some uncertainty that came about.
There is. It has definitely been an interesting beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And I think that, when I talked about the name change and moving into being able to help more families, that is also helping us to set up for some of that sustainability in the long term. As a program, our Head Start funding has been secure and stable for the last 72 years. And in January, we hit a moment where it was a little uncertain. I happened to be in Washington, D.C. at a national conference with our board chair and our policy council chair, which is an amazing part of our program, which I'll probably explain later.
Yeah.
And we were told that we were under the funding freeze. There were about 600 people at this conference, and it was kind of this weird hush that went over the room as these poor speakers were trying to like speak to us about Head Start things, and
Yeah.
everyone kind of realized at the same time that we were all locked out of our payment management system.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
So you're gathered in Washington, D.C., the Head Start folks from around the nation,
Mhm.
gathered in the nation's capital, and all of a sudden you learn our funding's locked up.
Yeah. And, the way our funding works is we do receive a grant, but they don't just give us all of that funding. It goes into what is called the payment management system, and we can only draw down what we need. So, accounts payable collects all of the invoices or payroll, and we can pull down funds and they can sit there for 3 days. So we have about 3 days of cash flow. And when that system went down, it left us in a scary situation.
Yeah. What'd you do?
So for that day, we did end up having to close down because at that time we were being told it was going to be about at least 2 weeks. And it was kind of at that weird place in our program year. So every grantee across the country, they have a different funding cycle. So that the Office of Head Start doesn't have to approve 1,600
Right.
grants every single, one day of the month.
Right.
So we're what's considered a February 1st grantee, which means that after January 31st, our funding ends and the next round of funding begins. So
Okay.
this was January 28th. We were a couple days away from that. We had payroll, and we also had a line of credit. And we knew how much that line of credit was, and then also the bills that would be due on February 1st. And so just to pause things to make sure that we were going to be able to keep paying people and obviously not exceed our line of credit and meet the obligations for February 1st. It was like just a perfect storm.
Yeah.
So we
Wow.
closed that day. Once funding was back up and running, we were able to reopen the next day. But that was a tough decision. It was incredibly challenging to, sit in a Zoom with all of my staff and let them know kind of what was happening and the uncertainty. And that policy council parent that was there with us, she's a parent in the program.
Oh.
So watching her as, her face as I'm telling staff, and obviously she knew what was going on because
Yeah.
she had the inside scoop, watching her, knowing that she's going to have to figure out what she's going to do with her kids.
Yeah.
Was it was a challenge.
Jarring
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah.
And so I want to continue the story. We've got to get a couple of messages in. But I think the question on my mind and others is, what did you do? So we'll pause there and we'll come back in just a moment. It's the WSJM Morning Show. We'll keep talking on the video live stream. So tune in there, but we've got to get some news in. We've got financial news from Bloomberg, our latest world and national news from ABC, our local news and sports coming up right here on the radio.
When I had my
That would have been that. So you're in the conference when you get word that stuff's locked up. Did you have any idea that was a potential happening?
No. Not like that.
Yeah.
There were,
I mean, you're the leader of the organization, and so you want to be there for your people, but you're in Washington D.C. when you find out.
right.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
And actually it was probably the best place for me to
Okay.
be. So our, also having our board chair there, being able to get on a quick call with
Yeah.
our board members, our attorney, trying to figure out, the hallways of the conference. were
Everyone's
just
thinking about the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It was good. And then the next day, what we do at that conference is we go to Capitol Hill.
Hmm.
So
Get to see your members of Congress.
Yes. So being able to sit down with them and talk about what's happening.
Yeah.
In addition, on top of that, we usually receive our notice of award for the next funding cycle by that time. And on that day, we hadn't received that yet.
Hmm.
So, we had that added worry, and you can't use last year's funds in the next year.
Right.
And so we only had a couple of days to figure that out. And so it was a critical time, but being able to go to Capitol Hill, and because we've been there before, we've built those relationships.
Yeah.
And, to be able to have people in, both of our senators' offices, but also Congressman Heisingen and Wahlberg's
Yep.
office, to be able to start looking into, like, when are these funds going to be released?
When
Is everything going to get turned back on?
I'm curious what they said when you arrived. I can imagine, but what did
Right.
they say when you
Right.
got there?
And I think that they were just as surprised.
Yeah.
At that time, news started to come out that, like, oh, Head Start's not supposed to be part of this. And, but somehow, we were.
Yeah.
And
So was it not supposed to have the faucet shut off?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. And I think it had to do with there's many different types of federal grants that go through that payment management system.
Okay.
And there's different programs have different rules. So I think when that funding freeze announcement came out, I think there were a lot of people trying to pull funding. I do think that it locked up the system.
Nice meltdown.
Yep. And so, that was scary. And then going into February 1st, we came close to another shutdown because our funding was delayed until February 7th.
Yeah.
And working on those tight timelines. So that was scary. And then April 1st, the Head Starts were supported by 10 regional offices across the country. Ours is in Chicago.
Okay.
And April 1st, they shut down half of those, including ours in Chicago.
Oh.
So from April 1st until just Monday, Monday, we finally got our new contact.
This week.
This week.
This is July.
This is July.
You said April.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so April through July, you didn't have a head office?
We didn't
or a regional
have
office?
a personal connection like we normally do. So those are the people that approve our grants, answer questions, there's a lot of things that we have to put through to get approval for. So we didn't have anyone.
Who'd you talk to?
There was a general email we could send to. It was like, I don't know, grant support.
Wow.
Yeah. And so,
Wow.
sometimes we'd get an email that said, like, oh, someone is working on this. But pretty much it was just kind of crickets. Luckily, we've got a really good team, and we have a great national association and state association to be able to get advice from, and we just carried on. Luckily, it wasn't the time that our grant was being approved, and so we were able to just navigate through that. Now we have a new person, so that's good.
Okay.
And then
Well, I tell you what, let's pause there.
Okay.
Let's pause there, and then we'll come back. I've got to get some weather forecasting and some news, but we're on the WSJM Morning Show with Flowers Early Learning. Chanda Hillman is CEO and Executive Director, and Gloria Walter is the Family Services Director at Flowers Early Learning. More coming up in just a moment.
Consumers. Now sources tell Bloomberg News that the company is planning to introduce its first upgrade to the roughly $3,500 device as early as this year. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
Okay, if you're missing the video live stream, you're missing a lot. We're continuing our conversation with Flowers Early Learning. Our guests this morning, Chanda Hillman and Gloria Walter from Flowers Early Learning. We'll continue that conversation here in just a moment. First off, I want to give you some weather information, and then we'll get over to ABC News for our latest world and national news. 67 degrees out in Benton Harbor right now. Clear skies. St. Joseph, 70 and sunny. Enjoy the beach. 66 degrees in South Haven right now, and in Dowagiac, 63 degrees. The forecast for today does call for mostly sunny, getting toward a high somewhere between 80 and 85 degrees, depending on where you're at. Probably 80 by the lakeshore, 85 inland. Tonight's forecast mostly cloudy. Slim chance of rain showers late this afternoon or evening. Low around 64 degrees. And then Friday's forecast partly cloudy. A 30% chance of showers and storms, high around 87. Just looking quickly at the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny on Saturday, although there is a 60% chance of some showers and storms moving through, high around 85 degrees. Sunday's forecast, partly cloudy, a chance of showers, and a high around 83. Yes, we do need the rain. We've got more news coming up in just a moment. First, the latest in world and national news.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. An investigation is underway in Los Angeles following a tunnel collapse. It was under construction. 31 workers were trapped about 6 miles underground. They were able to get out with only minor injuries. Still searching in Texas for more than 170 people missing after the 4th of July flooding. But there's some confusion over that, says ABC's Matt Gutman in Kerr County.
There were so many people, and this densely populated area right around the river was so severely impacted that at this point, law enforcement officials are still trying to make heads and tails of who is accounted for. And today, they actually made a plea to the public. Listen, if you found your loved one, or if your loved one that you announced or told us was missing has somehow turned up, please let us know. We need to cross those people off the list. So still a lot of confusion down here on the ground in Texas.
120 people. Russia launching more drones and missiles at Ukraine overnight. This is ABC News.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
7:40 is the time. It's Thursday, July 10th. I'm Ken Lundberg. Some of the news that we're talking about coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. The Bicentennial Bridge connecting Benton Harbor and St. Joseph has finally reopened. Either of you have to take the Bicentennial this morning?
Not this morning.
But over,
yeah.
Man, over the weekend, it was a mess.
I know.
It was a mess. So some of the traffic, I went through St. Joseph. My sons and I were just driving around, and we have this normal loop that we just kind of go around. I was driving out of St. Joe on the Blossom Land Bridge, and the traffic was backed up almost to the light by the golf course coming in. So thankfully, the Bicentennial Bridge is back open again. The bridge has reopened to traffic. MDOT had to bring in an out-of-state inspector to take a look and see what the problem was. They were kind of confounded on Tuesday. They spent yesterday looking at it, but by 6 p.m. they were able to reopen it. Still no word exactly on what went wrong. So we're checking with MDOT officials to get a fuller explanation on that. Other news, a setback last night in the effort for police to clamp down on those illegal block parties that are happening in Benton Harbor. At a meeting of the city's Public Safety and Public Works Committee yesterday, the commissioners and residents talked at length about the implications of giving police the authority to shut down what they're calling nuisance parties. They pushed the issue off for at least till next month. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. And finally, a new residential development is moving forward in Lincoln Township. The Board of Trustees this week held their second and final reading on the rezoning of property along Red Arrow Highway to make way for the new 200-unit apartment complex. So all that news and more is coming up at 8 o'clock this morning right here on the WSJM Morning Show. We're going to continue our conversation with Flowers Early Learning, and we're going to get a check of sports after a look at state news. All right, back on the video live stream. Gloria, I told you we were going to pick on you. Gloria is the Family Services Director, Gloria Walter, with the Flowers Early Learning. Family Services Director, in a nutshell, what's your main goal?
Oh, gosh, there's so many goals. Helping students and families thrive would be the main one.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, it's really just staying enrolled and optimizing our services out in the community. So,
yeah. Did you ever think you were going to be doing this?
No. When I went to grad school, I was aiming to work in higher education, and then I fell into preschool and infants. So complete different direction.
I bet it's more rewarding. I don't know.
I was going to say, yes, I have nothing to compare it to because
Yeah.
I work in higher ed, but yes, it's been very rewarding.
What did you go to school for?
So I have a bachelor's in special education and literacy studies, and then my master's is in educational leadership for global and organizational leadership.
Okay. That's fine. What's a normal day look like for you? What do you do day to day?
Tell them about today.
I was gonna say every day is different, and that's one of the things that I love most. So, this morning it's a super early start and being on the radio.
Wait a sec, this is super early? I was here for 2 hours before you got here. All right.
I was coming from Kalamazoo.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes,
well, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And welcome.
So then after this, I'm going to be heading over to Bangor. We're hosting, the Family Services Department is going to be hosting an event called Fishing and Phonics, where we are just connecting the community with fishing rods and reels, some literacy books. We've invited other community agencies to be part of it with us.
Wait a second. Fishing and phonics.
Yes.
How does this work?
So we had received a grant from one of the local agencies in the community to host this event. And it was just, brainstorming what can we do that will get a lot of people and also help support the community.
Yeah.
So we just brainstormed and came up with, let's do a fishing day.
I love that.
And hopefully, get some male engagement out there as well. So we are going to be doing that. Yeah.
You had me at fishing.
I know. We'll be at Lions Park in Bangor from 8 to 10. So if anybody or 10 to 12, I'm sorry, 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
So if anybody wants to pop out there, but yeah, so we're just going to be having a super fun event with some other community agencies and teaching people what there is in their community, as well as giving out free fishing rods and books. So what's
That's really
not to
cool.
love there.
Yeah.
So then after that, I'm going to be heading back to Benton Harbor, and then I'm doing some interviewing. So yeah.
What are you interviewing?
For new family advocates.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Very nice. What's a family advocate do?
Everything. So family advocates, they do everything. So they're the ones who do the applications with families when they say, hey, I'm interested. What is this program? They go out and talk to them about that. We do the eligibility. They recruit. So we're, going to be at fairs for the next couple of weeks. We're going to be at different back to school bashes coming up. Pretty much any event that's happening in the Tri-County area, like we try to be there.
Yeah.
So we do lots of recruiting. They, as we mentioned earlier in the segment, connect families to different community resources. So if a family is saying like, hey, I don't quite have enough food here at the house, we can connect them to food pantries, meet up and eat ups. We can transport them to these places as well. If a family, like we talked about, had a catastrophic event like a fire, we can connect them to housing resources. Sometimes it's a little bit more simple and the family's just like, hey, I don't know what dentist to choose in my community.
Yeah.
And we can say, here's your options using our resource book. The family advocates also do the family strengths assessments and goal setting so that we can support families in attaining whatever goal is meaningful to them that will help their family out.
Yeah.
Like Chanda mentioned earlier, the goal for the one family was around, what can I do with my degree? How do I get a job? And we helped profoundly there.
Yeah.
And that's just one of many examples. We help connect families to staying up to date on their medical, child exams and their dental exams, their immunizations. We can take them to the doctors if they need support with that.
Yeah.
My goodness, I know I'm forgetting like 20 things probably.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that the theme is it's really removing obstacles between the kid and their development, the child and their education, which is going to help them better their lives and
absolutely
raise the boat and everything else. So, that's a lot.
It is.
It is.
That's great work. How many people do you have working at Flowers Early Learning?
We have about 200 staff members.
That's a lot.
It is.
That's great.
It is. But they all do such important life-changing work.
Yeah. And they're spread out how geographically, where do they all sit in one spot or where do they go? Okay.
Berrien, Cass, and Van Buren counties.
Okay.
We have a total of 17 different locations.
Okay.
That does include our kitchen in Decatur because we do prepare all of the food and then ship it out every day to all of our centers.
Wow.
So I think last year we served 275,000 meals and snacks to our centers. In addition to they have some grants with the Food Hub at Kalamazoo Valley Community College. Pack food bags for families. Our nutritionist will make sure that there's recipes and, like, how do I cook this thing that I received?
I made eggplant on the grill last night.
Oh.
It actually turned out pretty well.
That's really good.
My wife, Stephanie, she put it on naan, flatbread. It's naan with mozzarella.
Oh.
It was so good. Sorry.
Now we're all hungry.
Now I'm it's about this time I start talking about food every day. All right. Well, we're going to continue our conversation. We've got a few minutes left. We'll make it part of our Moody on the Market update and really talk about enrollment because I know you want to hit enrollment. And we'll wrap up the story on what you did when the funding freeze happened. So we'll we'll finish that story here in just a moment on the WSJM Morning Show.
Mostly sunny skies today. We're looking at still warm temperatures inland around 85 degrees. At the beaches, we're going to stay right around 80 degrees with the north wind. Wind will stay light. Partly to mostly cloudy overnight tonight. A slight chance of a shower. We drop down to 64. And then for tomorrow, partly sunny. A few showers and thunderstorms. High temperatures up in the mid-80s. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
I was just looking at the great positive comments on the video live stream. Even members of Flowers Are Early Learning are listening, rooting for you, saying, keep going, get another hour. It'd be great.
I think we could go another hour. Are you ready?
There's a lot of information. We're talking with Flowers Early Learning. Chanda Hillman is the CEO and Executive Director, and Gloria Walter, Family Services Director. Let's make this the rest of this interview part of our Moody on the Market update for this hour. Moody on the Market update brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today. They are your local auto owners insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. We left people on a cliffhanger around 7:30 this morning when we said you were in Washington, D.C. This last January when all of a sudden your accounts were frozen and you didn't know what was going on, what was happening, and you had to shut down for a day. And so what did you do after that? How did things get repaired?
Yeah. So, what was fantastic about being in Washington, D.C. is the next day we went right to Capitol Hill and were able to
hello, U.S. representatives and our senators.
Please help.
Yeah.
And luckily everything got turned back on and we were good.
And part of the reason why it got turned back on was, as you explained it, was because it wasn't meant to be turned off in the first place.
Exactly.
You got caught up in the rush of whatever was happening and changing, and Head Start was not intended to be part of that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
That's good news.
It is. It is. It was a little scary a little later in the year when Office of Budget and Management sent a memo to the Office of Head Start saying that they were going to eliminate the funding.
Oh, again?
Again.
Oh, boy.
And prepare to shut down the program. But then the president's budget came out and we're flat funded, which not good, but also better than nothing.
Yeah. So you have three options. Either you get an increase, you get exactly what you got last time around, or you get nothing.
Right.
And so you got the middle of the road.
We got the middle of the road. So
right.
we are good. And, like I talked about earlier, that name change, working to add different options for families, because we also know that every year there's probably 400 people on our waiting list that are over income or don't qualify, that, desperately need care. So working to be able to provide additional services beyond that Head Start grant will, not only help us navigate any potential federal, ups and downs and ebbs and flows, but also make sure that we're here for the families that need us.
Yeah, nice. Make sure you've got that solid. I like that. And so enrollment. Let's talk about enrollment.
Sure. So we want to be enrolled.
You want people to enroll.
Yes, because we have such amazing services and we want people to use them. And so really one thing that makes us different too is that our enrollment is based on a monthly reporting. And so we have to maintain full enrollment at all times. And so we're constantly, out and about recruiting, and we do continuous applications. So there's, higher volumes throughout the year at certain points, but we're always taking applicants and helping people through that process. So
who's the target here? Who should be thinking about enrollment at this point?
Anybody with a child that is birth to age 5, as well as anybody who is an expectant parent, preferably early on in their pregnancy, but we can take whenever. We do have categorical eligibility. So as we mentioned a little bit earlier, there's some income guidelines, McKinney-Vento, foster care, individuals who receive public assistance, and then SNAP benefits, SSI, TANF, things like that. So.
And the benefits for parents or would-be parents as to why they should consider enrolling is?
Infinite. I mean, all of the things that we've talked about already.
Yeah.
And then in addition, we really thrive on having the parents be truly involved in our program. So we have policy council and family committees, which are comprised of the families of children in our program. We help them with leadership skills. We take them to conferences. We just work with them every step of the way. We do the goal setting with them for
Yeah.
their child, for themselves. So yeah, it's anybody who wants education for their
Yeah.
child or themselves is who we're targeting now.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
about 49% of our 200 staff are current or former parents.
Mhm.
So
49% of your staff, current or former parents
in the program.
in the program. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's
Yeah.
good. So they have that experience of, I know what you're going through.
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's great. Did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually
That's very intentional.
Yeah, I'm a former parent.
Okay.
Yeah, so my Head Start adventure started in 2014. My son, who is now 14, stepped his little blue shoes and oversized backpack on the Head Start bus for the first time.
Did you cry?
Oh, I did. But he was like, I could not wait one more moment. He was begging me. He saw my older children go
Yeah.
to school, and every day, when is it my turn to go to school? And so I had to send him. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have made it one more year. Yeah, it totally changed our lives. The next year, my next son was able to get into the program.
Nice.
It helped identify a speech delay with him, which he does want me to always say that he no longer needs speech therapy. He's
Okay.
now.
Oh, very good.
But so helped identify a speech delay and got him the services that he needed. About 20% of our enrolled students have an IEP or an IFSP, so some sort of diagnosed disability or delay. And then I started to serve on policy council, like she had mentioned. Head Start, because my boys were in school, I was able to go back to school and get my master's degree. But I started on policy council, so a representative from our classroom that sits alongside the board. So everything goes through policy council before it makes it to board. So parent voice is like instrumental to our program.
Okay.
So I was on policy council, became policy council chair, which meant I had a seat on the board. And then I was hired in as a part-time recruiter in family services, driving all around the 3 counties, doing applications in families' homes, learning very quickly how close Grand Junction or how far away Grand Junction and Niles are.
Sounds like quite a drive.
It is. And then became recruiting manager and ERSI manager, and then family services director. And then August of 2018 became the 3rd CEO in the organization's history.
Wow.
So yeah, it
Congratulations.
changes lives.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they brought you in as a part-timer and they wouldn't let you go till you became CEO.
They would not.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's part of our this part of our interview is the Moody on the Market update. It's brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and the Niles. The hour's almost up. I've got to get a couple of messages in and then we'll be right back to conclude this and say goodbye.
Insurance Management Service, your local.
It goes very fast.
Yeah.
It goes very fast, and I'll get this one and then that one. Sorry, this is the behind the scenes Ken juggling to make sure everything times out.
I do want to get a picture.
Yeah.
Before we leave.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can have a picture. Is there anyone, and while we're still on the video live stream, anyone you want to sneak in as a thank you?
I want to thank my board.
Yes.
2, definitely all of the staff. They are just incredible early childhood professionals that do such challenging work. Like it's tough work to be in a classroom with 17 3 and 4-year-olds.
I can't imagine.
Or even 8 infants and toddlers.
Wow.
You think about having just one infant or toddler. It's pretty demanding.
How
but
many infants and toddlers in one room?
8.
Wow, that's a lot.
Usually 2 to at least 2. A lot of times 3 to 4 adults in the room, but still, it's a
lot of needs.
yeah, and
Yeah.
to like turn it on, and be on, the entire time the children are there. Like what they do is absolutely amazing.
Well, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you bringing the information in today. We're going to wrap up the interview here in just a moment. Flowers Early Learning, and where can people go for more information?
They can check out our website, which is flowersearlylearning.org, or they can give us a call.
Okay, hang on one second. We'll be right back.
Proudly serving our community. The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
That does it. We had a wonderful time talking with our folks from Flowers Early Learning, Chanda Hillman, CEO and Executive Director, and Gloria Walter, flowersearlylearning.org.
Yes.
Okay, I was about to say so it's flowersearlylearning.org if you want more information. Chanda, Gloria, thank you very much for coming in today, and we'll get the picture.
So much.
Absolutely. Good morning. It's 8:00.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The